What's up, chums? Sharky here. So, a couple weeks ago, I got back from my first international trip ever. It was a ton of fun, and I kind of just wanted to make a quick little video about it. I didn't really take any video while I was over there because I was actually there for a wedding. I did take photos, so I'll probably include a few of those in this video. First off, let me just say, I was freaking out about this trip. I had never had a passport before, so that was a new experience for me. Having to fill out the form to get one, and here in the US you have to actually pay for your passport. So I think it ended up being like $165, and then you had to wait for them to mail it to you. My post office experience was kind of crazy because you have to make an appointment, and then they tell you to be early for the appointment, and I was, and the lady was literally like, you're a little early. I'm like, it literally says to be 10 minutes early on the form. But anyways, so I was able to get my passport in time, which, if you've never applied for that before, sometimes it can take up to a couple months to get your passport. I tried to do it way in advance for my trip because I left in September, so I think I applied for my passport in June or something like that. But so I did get my passport on time, and then it took me a while to even book the flight because the pricing kept going up and down. So during the summer, flight costs are way higher than they are in the off season, even for England. So I was like, well, crap. So I was waiting for the price to go down, and then eventually it just started getting closer and closer, and I was like, I just want to go ahead and book it so I don't have to worry about it. I would probably next time wait a little longer because the price actually did go down quite a bit, right before I left. I think it was a few weeks before I left. The first week of September they did go down, but I had already booked it, so whatever, lesson learned with that. This was really my first time planning out a trip like this, planning for a flight, packing for a flight, all of that stuff. I've actually flown before, but it was within the US, and it was from Chicago to Austin, and that was a lot less packing and a lot less complicated than this, because for this, it is an international flight, so I needed to be a little bit more careful in my planning of this. But anyways, I had been researching about this new thing called the sunflower lanyard. Let me show you what it looks like. So for those of you who don't know, this is a new program that started in the UK in 2016, I believe, but it's called the Sunflower Scheme, or the Sunflower Program. And it's basically a way for airport staff, or just places in public service locations, to understand that you have a hidden disability. This could be autism, this could be ADHD, it could be a medical condition, anything that's not initially visible. So the reason I brought this up is because I really wanted this to help me, navigating the airports, just for extra assistance, because I do have anxiety, so I get really overly worried about things that are probably not a big deal to most people. I sent out a message to the airport that I was going to be flying out of, and I said hey, I'd like to pick up one of these. It's free, by the way. You don't have to pay for these. You can get them, I think at most airports now have implemented this. There might be a couple local ones that don't, but all of the big ones should have this by now. But I sent them a message ahead of time, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be picking up this lanyard on this date. So as soon as my sister dropped me off at the airport, that was my first initiative of my trip, was getting this lanyard. So what was funny is I walked in, and there was a group of people that looked like they worked there, but I needed to get to guest services because that's where they have the lanyards, and I was like, looking for signs, that would point me in the right direction, because I hadn't been in that airport for several years, because that trip I was talking about before, the domestic trip, it was a while back, so like I couldn't really remember the layout of the airport. So I walked up to this group of people that all had on like white shirts and like black pants, and I was like, "Hey, I'm looking for guest services." And they were like, "Oh, that's downstairs." And I was like, "Okay." So then I went over to like this mobility kiosk where they have like wheelchairs and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, maybe they might know like how to get there." So I was like, "Hi, I'm looking for like a sunflower lanyard, like it's part of this program for hidden disabilities, blah blah blah." And she was like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna probably be downstairs." And I'm like, "Okay." And there were elevators right next to that, so I took the elevator down, and then I go up to the desk, and there's no one there. There's literally like no staff. There's just like a bunch of people that don't work there, like standing around. So I was kind of panicking a little bit, because I still had to check in. I had checked in for my flight online, but like I still had to do the document check, which is like a passport check at the desk. I hadn't done that yet, or gone through TSA yet, which takes time. So I was like, there's nobody here, like I really need this. I didn't want to get to the UK without it, because it's more widely recognized there. So I kind of just like stood around, looked around, and these two ladies showed up, and they happened to both work like at the airport, not at that desk, but they were looking for the person who normally works that desk. And I was like, "Hi, like I'm here to pick up a lanyard," and I messaged online beforehand, and I was just wondering like, where are they at? Apparently, like I think they had gone on break. Like all of the staff in that area had gone on break, and I was like, "I really need this." So eventually, like we stood around and waited, and they called some people, and somebody did finally bring me a lanyard. And they have like a little checkout thing that you basically sign your name and like where you're from. So I got my lanyard, and then I was ready for the document check. So I made my way back upstairs. They have like a neat little like escalator that goes back upstairs. So I went over to the document check, and I didn't have any checked bags. That was my goal for this flight, is I was trying to like travel as light as possible. So I didn't bring any like giant suitcases or anything. And I was like, "Hi, I just need to do the document check real quick." And I think they asked me, "What's your destination?" And I was so like frazzled. I was like sweating, just from, going downstairs and like trying to find, the lanyard lady and whatever. Like I had a minute where I was like, "Where am I going?" But I was like, London, UK? And he was like, okay. I was like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. This is my first international flight. And he just kind of rolled his eyes and stuff. So then I went to the TSA line, and it wasn't too bad. I was a little, like, I guess, over-prepared, because I had my liquids bag in the front. I had done all the things that they tell you to do online, where they're like, have your liquids in a clear bag, have your electronics bigger than a phone, like up front, ready to put in the bucket thing that they put through the scanner. And as soon as I get up to the line, they do a passport check, so that was fine. And I had my boarding pass and all that stuff, so they do ask to look at that. So after that, I started like, taking my liquids out, and the guy behind the counter, the TSA agent, he was like, "Leave everything in the bag." I was like, "Okay." So I just kind of, like, I put my bag in there, and there was some miscommunication. I guess he thought I didn't take my shoes off, but I did. They were already in the bucket in front of him, so I was like, "Okay, whatever." So, and then I walked through the scanner, everything was fine, and I kind of like walked around without shoes on for a sec while I was trying to figure out where to go. I made it through TSA with no problems, and then I made it to my gate, and I was just kind of sitting and waiting and watching. And one of the things that I had read about for disability assistance was pre-boarding. I had made a request with British Airways for pre-boarding ahead of time, and I had never done that before. But I really liked it. It really did help me, because then, like, you know, you're not standing in a line with like a bunch of like screaming kids and people who are pissed off at you, you know, and you don't feel rushed like, you know, people behind you. I highly recommend, if you have like anxiety or autism or anything, even like ADHD, where you feel like that might help you, definitely would recommend getting that as an accommodation of pre-boarding. Because I was able to like go in, you are guaranteed a carry-on spot up in the overhead bins. So you can go in, put your stuff where it needs to be, you can find your seat without people like pushing you and stuff, and you can kind of like, you know, get situated in your seat and like get it to where you want it, and then everybody else starts coming in. But that was really nice. The flight to the UK was a bit rough. It was an overnight flight, so it was from 6 p.m. my time to 9 a.m. UK time. And I have never done that before. I've never done an overnight flight. Sorry, I'm rubbing my eyes a lot. I just woke up like an hour ago. I had never done an overnight flight, and I had heard people saying like, oh, you should try and sleep on the plane. And I was like, I'll try, but there's no guarantees, because like I was tired, but I was so anxious of just like the anticipation of just getting there that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to sleep or not. So I ended up like, I attempted to sleep, but then I remembered that I had my contacts in. And if those of you with contacts, you shouldn't, I wouldn't say you can't, but you shouldn't sleep in contacts. Because one, it can ruin them. Two, it can cause you like eye infections, among other things. You just shouldn't sleep in contacts. And I, like a dumbass, I was like, oh, I'll wear my contacts so that, like, you know, for the facial recognition stuff with the passport, you know, I don't have to take any glasses off. Well, I should have worn my glasses, because you could just take them off for the machines and stuff. I wasn't thinking, so I wore my contacts, and I wasn't really able to sleep, like, at all. I maybe rested my eyes a little bit, but I did not sleep. And this was a 8.5 hour flight, almost 9 hours. The flight was super boring. I had my Nintendo Switch in my pocket the whole time, which I wish I wouldn't have done that, because I only played it for a few minutes, and I had to basically just carry it in my pocket the whole time because I couldn't open like the overhead bins. I didn't want to be that person that like opens the bin and stuff like during the flight, because that irritates me and it irritates other people. So I was like, nah, I'm just gonna carry it. I put it back in my bag like before leaving the plane. But anyways, so we landed at about 9 a.m. and it was super cloudy and cold and rainy, like, you know, the UK is most of the time. There was a guy, one of my taxi drivers, he said, there's a saying in England, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes and it'll change. So that was kind of funny, but yeah, it was like super cold, but I loved it because here in Texas, it was still like over 100 degrees at the time that I left. And I was desperate for, you know, closer to fall weather. So that was beautiful. I loved it the whole time I was there. It was like 67, 70 degrees with rain, and I was like in heaven. But anyways, once I landed, navigating the airport was okay. I was flying into Heathrow Airport in London, which I believe is the biggest international airport in the world, I think. Could be wrong on that. But that's what I read somewhere. But anyways, so after I landed, like, navigation was fine through the airport until I got to the car park because my friend whose wedding it was had organized for a taxi to come pick me up. But I ended up going to the wrong taxi lane. I ended up going to like a carpool type thing, like a carpool taxi lane, which was on a different floor, and there's like 5 different levels of parking. So I was really confused. And that went on probably for half an hour, me just trying to find the guy. Eventually I did find him, and he was super nice, and I couldn't always understand his accent. He did have like a very thick accent, so it was a little difficult for me sometimes, but you know, we just kind of like made small talk and everything was fine. It was about a 2.5 hour drive to my friend's house, and I was so tired by this point, just like all the hustle and bustle with the airport, and just, you know, I was tired. So anyways, I think the moment that I saw my friend, though, made it all worth it, because I was so excited when I saw her. It was literally like being in a movie. What I mean by that is, like, once I got out of the taxi, I messaged her because I was like on her street in the parking lot, and I was like, hey, I'm here, which one's yours, you know? And she was like, hang on, I'll be right there. And then like we started like walking towards each other, like in the rain, and it was literally like being in a movie, because we hadn't seen each other in 11 years, because the last time that I saw her, she visited me in the US, I think when I was still in school. Like, it was a long time ago. So I was really excited to see her. I hadn't seen her in so long. So much has happened in that span of time. So I got to see her home. I got to meet her pets. She has a dog named Lucky and a cat named Teddy. And I got to meet her husband-to-be. He's so nice, and I really like him. I was worried I wasn't going to like him just because I never met him before. But he was super nice, and I had a great time, like, catching up with her. We didn't have a whole lot of time to catch up just because this was kind of a quick trip for the wedding. But I will get to one of the most awesome things I've ever experienced here in a second. I was only able to take about 5 days off of work, so I didn't get as much PTO as I wanted. Plus, I mean, it worked out. I was super tired, but it kind of just worked out for the time. But we didn't get to do as much as I wanted to. So I think when I landed, it was Wednesday. I left on a Tuesday, landed on a Wednesday, because they're 7 hours ahead or whatever. So I kind of just took a nap. We caught up. I met her husband-to-be, and we kind of just didn't do much. We kind of just like ate food and like went to bed. So then that Thursday, the next day, I had been asking her, hey, y'all got castles, right? Because, like, you know, it's one of the oldest countries in the world. So I was like, you know, I'd really, really like to see a castle. And she was like, yeah, there's one, you know, less than an hour from my house. And I was like, are you serious? Let's go. So Conisbrough Castle was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And that was a small one. That's a small castle. Because I remember pulling up, mind you, like, if you're not from the U.S., we don't have castles in the U.S., okay? So I had never seen a castle in person before. And I remember when we pulled up in the taxi, I was like, dang, that's huge. And she was like, really? Like, this is a small one. I'm like, what? Like, how is this small? Like, I had never seen anything like that before. So she's like, next time we'll take you to an even bigger one. I was like, okay, cool. So I have pictures. I'll show some of the pictures here as I'm talking, but it was amazing. We took like a short video of me discovering what a medieval toilet looks like. That was fun. The weather was super nice. It was a little cold, but you know, that's how it is over there. But there was a lot of kids there. I think we picked like a field trip day, really, because there was like 2 groups of kids there running around. But it was amazing. Like, especially seeing like the chapel room and like the basement with the well and stuff. That was so cool. I wish we could have gone down there, but it was closed off to the public. Probably good idea for safety reasons, but I ended up getting a keychain as a souvenir and a postcard. Really, really cool experience, and definitely next time I want to go back. Next time when I do go back, I really want to go see more things like that. Like, you know, old century buildings and castles. There's actually Conisbrough Castle, for those of you who don't know, is a 12th century castle. And down the road is a church from the 7th century, and that just blew my mind, because I was like, how can a building still be here that's that old? And I know they restore them and stuff, but still, I mean, that's crazy, because in the US, we don't have anything older than like 200 years, you know? Like, the oldest thing I had ever been to in the US was like, I guess Lincoln's home or something like that from the 1800s, but nothing older than that, really. So right after, you know, we had our castle day and we got to hang out some more, it was kind of all downhill from there. And when I say downhill, don't get me wrong, like, the wedding was amazing, but like, it was chaos from then on, because we were basically doing all wedding stuff, like, after we had got back from the castle. So we were like taking stuff to the church and like, you know, making sure we had like our outfits, and we actually, that Friday we had the rehearsal Thursday, and then Friday we were setting up the venue for the reception and the church literally all day. My friend and her mom went to set up the church for a few hours, and I kind of just hung out with her husband-to-be, and then they needed my help for the venue, so we literally were setting up for like 6 to 7 hours that day, and I was so exhausted by the end of it. I mean, because we had so many like table decorations and balloons and prizes for the games, and it was really nice though. Like, when we got done with everything, it was incredible. My friend had handmade a lot of the decorations and everything that I would never have the patience to do all of that. But she did a great job, and it looked really awesome at the end of it. And then the very next day was the wedding. So like, I had stayed with her mom and her like through the night, and then like we didn't get to hang out much because we got done so late at the venue. We did our hair in the morning, and we were like getting ready, and then the wedding was at 1, and we were like driving over there, and my friend and her mom were like freaking out the whole time. Like, I can't believe I'm getting married. And like, I'm like, y'all need to calm down. Like, it ain't that serious. I mean, it is, but it's not, you know, like, just have fun, be calm. But anyway, like, her mom was freaking out more than she was. But anyways, I was just happy that I could be there and be supportive through that. And the wedding ceremony was as planned, and it went great. And I felt so proud and so thankful to be a part of that. I got to meet a lot of my friends' family, and they were super nice to me and just very like welcoming. They did have a lot of questions for me, like about the US and where I'm from and all that stuff. But it was really cool meeting them. So then after we went to the reception, and their cake was incredible. Like, whoever made the cake did an excellent job. It looked amazing. I did take a picture of it. The reception was going on until midnight, but I could not stay that long because I was leaving the very next day, unfortunately. I did have a flight the next morning because I wanted to take an extra day, but I just couldn't because of my PTO requirements and restrictions. So I was like, well, crap. Like, it's gonna be rough. And let me tell you, like, by the time I got back, I was exhausted. Like, I had to go to work the very next day. I did manage to take a nap that Sunday, but, like, I was beat. And she doesn't know this, because my friend doesn't know this, because I didn't tell her, but I got really emotional when I got back, just because, I don't know, I just felt so happy for her, and I still do. Like, her husband is a great guy, and I'm really happy that she found somebody to be with. Always wanted that for her, so, I did cry a little bit. Because I didn't cry at the wedding, and I didn't cry at the reception, but definitely, like, as I was leaving, like, it was hitting me, and I was, like, really emotional. But, I'm really happy that I got to be a part of this. It was super fun, and I definitely want to do more, like, international trips, and come back to the UK, because everybody was super nice, and I learned some things, and I got to experience some new things. I got to try fish and chips. I got to try Yorkshire pudding. The flight back was, I think, worse than the flight there. Maybe, or about the same, because people were sick. I wasn't, thank God. But a lot of people on the Austin flight back were, like, coughing and sneezing, and I wore a mask on the plane, because I'm like, I am not about to get sick. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Like, ain't gonna happen. So, yeah, that was disappointing. Like, everybody was, like, just showing up sick and disgusting. But anyway, I also didn't like the people I was sitting next to. I didn't get up once. Mind you, like, the trip there and the trip back, I did not go to the bathroom. I did not get up, because I had the window seat, and I didn't want to be that person. And I just, like, I rationed my beverages so I didn't have to go to the bathroom. And I did it, y'all. I did a freaking 8.5 hour. I know that's probably not healthy to not go to the bathroom for that long, but I didn't really have to go, so it was fine. But anyway, it makes me respect my fiance a lot more for all the trips that he's come to see me. It definitely put that in perspective, because, well, and even my friend that I went to go see, like, because she visited me twice, like, it's a long haul. Like, it's not, you really gotta be prepared for being uncomfortable for that long. Because my fiance, like, he's made this trip, like, he's from Italy, so, like, it's an even longer trip than from the UK. But, I mean, his trip is literally probably closer to, like, 14 hours, like, with stops and stuff, because he usually does a one stop. I have so much respect and love for him. Like, I want to go to Italy still, but I don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. Just because, like, I would have to at least fly economy plus, like, just to have more space, because basic economy is rough, man. Like, I didn't realize how much, like, how hard it was, not to constantly interrupt the person next to you, because, your arms are touching, and foot room and all that stuff. But anyway, everything was a really cool experience. I hope you guys enjoyed my pictures. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.